Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Revit structure demo. Now, I would like to call our expert, Miss Paridu, to continue the session. Ma'am, you can start now.
Hello and good evening to everyone. This is Architect Paridi and Architect and Urban Planner. Welcome you all in today's session, introductory session of Revit Architecture BIM here. So let me show you the presentation by sharing my screen. Meanwhile, in the session, anytime my voice is not clear to all of you, or maybe you are not able to see the screen, you can tell me. So first of all, what is Revit and how the Revit software is needed to make by the Autodesk here. So actually the Autodesk started with the software names AutoCAD. And when the CAD names comes in your mind and you directly go into the 2D dimensional drawing and 2D drawing sections and elevations kind of stuff. Of course, in the AutoCAD you can work. Sorry. Voice is not clear.
It's clear, ma'am.
Okay. So when of course, the 3D is also workable in the AutoCAD, but not in a very good manner. So then Autodesk introduced us with the software named 3ds Max, where you can directly work on the 3D model by implementing it. You have a light, shadow, and so many of the techniques into it. But then there is a different software for working for the different type of the working. Of course, you need to make a 2D drawing. So you start with the AutoCAD. Then for the 3D, we move into the 3ds Max. And of course, for the structure, we having a different kind of a software itself. Maybe the State Pro and so many as a civil engineer for us. After the 3DX and the State Pro we have, then maybe the some kind of documentation which is required for any kind of a project. And for that, we need again a different software altogether, maybe Excel or maybe any kind of a Microsoft into it. So there is a different bunch of the software when we are using all together while working on one single project. And then the Autodesk introduced us with the Revit software. So what is a Revit actually? Revit is basically a purpose-built tool for the creative product, any kind of product, which means maybe the interior product, maybe any structure product, to the documentation, and of course is necessary for the building to be built. Of course, the building is about to build. We start before it by designing it, by creating it in the 2D and the 3-dimensional form. So actually the why I'm comparing the AutoCAD with the Revit, because AutoCAD actually work in the 2D factor, or I can say they works in only in the forms of lines, maybe in the shapes. But when you started working, and that is not a smart geometry altogether, but when you start working on the Revit software, it's going to be using by the smart geometry element uses in the Revit, which can mimic like the real life element. For an example, if we are making a wall, so actually there is a function or an element name as a wall, which you need to pick on. If you wanted to add maybe the cavity wall, maybe you wanted to add a beam or any kind of a structure element, door, window, everything is named by it only, not by the lines, shapes, and any mathematical names into the software. So overall, when the software we are using as in Revit, so by using a bunch of a software altogether, maybe the AutoCAD for the manual calculator, maybe for calculation, some kind of structure analysis software, then of course the documentation software. We need to use a bunch of different software and document, and which is actually not connected to each other altogether. But in the Revit, everything you do in the one single file and one single project, so that it's easy for you to maintain all project file collaboratively for working also and for saving the time also. And the Revit software only specially built for the building information modeling, which we're going to be looking into a large picture after a few slides. Revit also include the architectural design, of course, the designing of a form, building, any building with the designing, and the MEP structure as well. And what is MEP is a mechanical, electrical, and the plumbing drawing as well. Here, in any kind of software, we need to start from the zero by creating it. But here, you can directly use there as a function, and the tools are available, which you can directly use for creating a mechanical, electrical, and the plumbing drawing as well. Along with that, the structure engineering part, and of course the construction design as well. So different type of project, different, like one type of project, but there is a different kind of a layering of a file maybe, or layering of the people who working onto the software on the one project. They can all together working into it by using the Revit software. Of course, so many of the software making a 2D and the 3D, but there is a very beneficial software here in the Revit where you can design, of course, in the 2D and in the 3D as well, for person to understand it in a better way. Of course, being an architect, being an engineer, structure engineer, civil engineer, you and I can understand what we are about to think and design and everything by drawing out in on a paper and pen also. But when it comes to the client, then of course we need to make sure that the client is as well understood by what we are about to think about that project. So that visualization is actually possible when there is a 3D modeling unit is available in your software. And that of course needs to be having on time and showcasing them what you are about to think about the project overall. So for that, this very saver of your time when all togetherly is worked together in a very collaborate manner. And of course, because of that, the considerable amount of a time we save into it. So whatever we have discussed about the Revit software, there is a three basic tool or basic work which Revit do is first of all the design. Of course, we have talked about it, starting from the architectural design to structural design, depicting of the interior design, for an example landscape design, and of course then going into the further, not only in the 2D form, in the 3D as well, plus in the different type of a rendering form as well. You can take out here the different type of night render, day render, interior render, with the different kind of uh, settings which have in the software, which very relevant and very easy to use. Next up is a collaboration. When we were talking about any project starting with, for an example, a residential only, but in the residential project also, there is a bunch of people are working together. There may be a client, of course, who is giving a project to architect, maybe a civil engineer. Then there is a contractor, maybe structure engineer, maybe interior designer, electrical engineer, plumber. So many people are working together on the one project here. And when we are talking about the so many of the software, so for an example, if there is something change happen on the site, and it's actually happen because we are working in um, the scenario of a live project, when there is a when the site or any project go on the or any drawing goes to the site, and some deflection maybe comes on, or some structure drawing having the error or something like this, and on the execution part we need to take a decision on that site only. And that changes if you need to do on your drawing, then you need to open all the drawings together or one by one, maybe by opening AutoCAD, then you edit your 3D, then you edit your calculation part, maybe then documentation error happen. So there is a very bunch of software you need to open and close for editing a one single column only. But then you have to do so much of the work on it. But then in this Revit software, you don't need to do that kind of donkey work actually, because if you do a simple change of a column in your plan also, it will simultaneously change in all kind of elevation, your section, your views, or any kind of a calculation as well. Numbering of the column, maybe the calculation of your estimation, from everywhere that column going to be removed from that part. So it's of course a collaboration which happening within the software, as well as for the people who are working togetherly. So in the AutoCAD or any of the software, when we are working, so one person can work on the one single file at a time. But when it comes to the Revit, on the same file, I'm working from a one remote area of India, and you can work from the other area of any part of the world on the same file togetherly. That is a big collaboration benefit here. And of course, the visualization. As we already talked about it, if we don't able to showcase our work in a good way to client or to any of the project management, that this is how your building gonna be look like, or this is how we are thinking for moving ahead with the project, then there is a no mean of it, or maybe you don't get the project. So the visualization also take place in the software. And when we are talking about the smart geometry which Revit has, and not only the smart geometry, Revit also has the smart, I would say, the category of library. And that library actually contain, whenever you install your software, that library install in your drive to help out in all the kind of a project. And that library contains so many of the category into it. And what is the category? Let me explain you with that. So starting with the category, which means the number of the element, the type of the element, I would say, maybe the column, roof, beams, flooring, for an example, maybe furniture, table, chair, anything can be in the part of a category. So it's a part of a category, and then there is a subdivision comes into it, which is called family. In the same column, for an example, I have put in here, the column can be concrete column, they can be round, they can be square, rectangle, any kind of a column it can be. So you don't need to create all the column all around by creating a dimension into it and then checking into the material. So that whole work you don't need to do, because there is already fit in library into the software. So you directly need to choose your column, and then which type of column you required, you choose that. Square, rectangular, concrete, anything if you want, you directly choose that. And along with that, there are the different kind of sizes which is also available in the software, starting from 9 inch by 18 inches, 18 by 18, 24 by 24, any type of dimensional column if you required, beam if you require, any type of category you required, you have a different type of a size as well. But this is not a confined size for you. If you want to edit that, if you don't want 18 by 18 but you want 12 by 18 column, for an example, when you're designing a structure and you got to know that there is a load which is coming, but when we are going upside, the load is decreasing as well. So you gradually decrease the size of your column, and that time if you wanted to edit as well, so you can do that. Of course, the software is allowed you to create your own library by creating your own, and you can save also the same if you wanted to use that same column size in a different project also. So this is also very big benefit for you. And when this era where everybody needs to work on time and site drawing needs to release on the site on time, so this is a very time very saver of the time. When you have everything ready with you, you of course need to work on the first two projects, but then you have all your file ready with you, you have all your library ready, so it will take lesser time eventually when you work on the working flow, like 1 to 5 project gradually. Basic funda in this slide which I'm showing to you, from the traditional way of the designing any project, starting from a land. This, we have a land and we need to design a mall into it, a house on it, airport on it. So we started with the land and we started creating a plans of it. Okay, this is the basement, this is the ground floor, there is a seventh floor. So we design gradually accordingly the land, the piece of a land which we have, and then I started putting out the lines on it. Okay, this is my room, this is the bedroom, this is the drawing room. So this kind of a obstruction of the element we have started putting into it by giving them a name, like of course the floor plans. And then when we are done with the floor plans, we are okay with it, then we move to the model part of it. Okay, how is going to be looking in the 3D, and on the basis of that we starting with the section and elevation, and of course some kind of coding is there, door window schedules and everything. We go with this hierarchy in till now in the traditional way of the design. But then when the BIM came, and of course the Revit came in our life, so the whole working flow style is actually changed. So you don't go by the just thinking in the 2D way, but you start with the 3D modeling. Okay, this is the project and how I want my overall building look like, maybe the massing, maybe the circulation, the functionality of the building gonna be look like. So we started with this model form directly. And when you're working in the model form, simultaneously your plans, elevations, section, everything is come together. You can started work on the model, then you can move to the plans and you can edit this for the few things, and then you can move to the elevation as well. So collaboratively you can work together with the whole project by, and of course it will guide you as well to thinking beyond the box, and is guide you to imagine a lot in the way of the 3D form. Okay, this is not right, we can go for that. So that imagination power is also increased by it. So this is how the workflow is actually changed when the BIM came in our life. When everybody anyone install a software, there is of course the screen came in the front of you. This is how the Revit software look like if you install from the 2007 or 2020 22 also came now. So the software going to be look like, we're going to be discussed of course when the first class is started on. But in this introduction part, I would say there's going to be a taskbar and you have a different type of icons over here which having a different role altogether. You of course have some kind of project browser, and of course you have some of the properties, because all the project browser, or I would say the categories what you are using, maybe the wall, colors, furniture, everything having the property in all together. So that property is edited from the different side of the, so you can keep it with together also, or one in the left hand, one in the right hand. So this is how. And of course in the center you have the workplace to work on. It's just a overview, but of course we're going to be looking in more deep into it when we having the first class. So when the building the BIM word came into, so everybody is look like all everybody is talking about the BIM, and now the growing number of the student are learning into it. So what is BIM and why there is importance of learning into it? So BIM is a intelligent model, I would say, which based on the contact of AEC professionals, so that you can make a more efficient building. You can build and operate with the using of the IT infrastructure. When there is a word came of this smart city and smart India kind of things, and when we are using the IT infrastructure all together in our cities, in our house, so the BIM actually plays a very good role into it by connecting the AEC professional into it, and to give a more efficient design overall. Of course, building, operating the building, IT infrastructure through the building. So of course, it's a building information modeling is the full form of it, but it will also known as the intelligent modeling of it. Why intelligent? Because there is a one project you can do uh, very nicely, but there is no future context we think about it. Okay, what is the future context of it? Or maybe if you are making a one multiplex, for an example, if I'm taking this one model which is in front of me, so you can actually do the analysis of all the things all together. And how? Of course, you do analysis of your all kind of structure element, you do analysis of all kind of material, or maybe the door window what you are using, maybe the temperature what you are having in your building, with a different form of I would say the layers which is inside the software, and the different tools which we can use to analysis one by one. So in this picture we are showing actually there is a different sizes of a doors here, and different sizes is showing you that how the gradually the light maybe came in, how the draft will grow, maybe the each floor why there is a table you can analysis the number of the doors which on the ground floor, on the window on the first floor. So that kind of analysis also you can do very easily in that. Not only the analysis of the materialistic thing which you are using on the floor wise, but you can also go for using it you can using it by analyzing the kind of energy which you are using right now. And the energy means how much the electricity you are using in the building, how much the water you are using inside the building. So there is a, when we have talked about the collaboration thing, so this is how the collaboration work. As an architect, if I am working on a building designing, as a civil engineer you are working as a structure, at the same time on the same file, electrical main can come and on start the file and started working layouting their own electrical wiring into it. Maybe the HVAC person can came and then start making that designing of HVAC very easily, because he know that from where the beam is going down and where is the column from where I can below down my pipes and everything. So there is a very less risk factor, and of course there is a very less error factor which is came. And we can analysis also as well, if in the part of a structure if you do some mistake, then of course the electrical people can say that maybe you can remove this column from here to there so that my pipeline came and there is no load issue into it. So that kind of a judgment, that kind of analysis you can do very easily in this software by not only working together but also by working in so many layer together with the collaboration. This is also a screen of a software while I'm working on it. So in this, I would showing you this the working style which is changed, and of course the saving of the time which you have. By I'm just changing here the door sizes in the table of my door schedule, and simultaneously you can see here in the front elevation and of course in the perspective view also the same door have been selected, and I started changing the size and the shape as well. So this is how the workflow is happen in the software. And it is not just in the elevation section or a view, it's can work on the plan as well. I can work change any kind of a plan. The same thing can happen gradually in all type of your drawings as well. Some insight analysis also this software is very useful to do, and that insight analysis maybe which is not visible while you are designing it, but when you have started using it you got to realize, okay, there is a more heat which is coming, there is a less light is put in here. So that insight of analysis you can do about any building before you start building it. And how? So let me tell you that some kind of a structure integrity analysis which is very important for us. If we know starting with the ground floor the column beam layouting is there, there is so many of the shaft there and we are designing that. But when we have created the whole structure altogether, then we are able to do the analysis that okay, the column sizes which we are putting downwards, of course which is having a load maximum type maximum load with the below columns, we can decrease that size of the column by gradually going upside. On the same time, it's not compulsory that you decrease the whole column size. When you see some kind of the cantilever is there, some kind of the maybe some kind of a cantilever beam is there, so you not decrease the size. So that kind of analysis is structure wise only also you can do very easily when there is this kind of a 3D model in front of you. So you can see that and you can do the changes, you can save the time, you can save the money, of course, and increase the visuality of overall thinking into it. Same way, there is some energy consumption analysis as well in this 3D, which is showing by different type of color pattern, which you are able to see here. That is different kind of red, green, blue, different colors which are there. So this color is actually showing you the percentage of the heat which is coming inside the building. So as you can see here in the below 3-4 floor, there is no such colors are happening. So it's a cool place because of course it's a lower and it's not heating with the direct heat of the sunlight. But when you can see here the reddish part of here where the building is heating maximum heat on the upper floor like this, and then of course there is a different kind of zoning is also creating by analyzing this blue color, this green color. So by this you can overall analyze that how much consumption of energy gonna be on the each floor and how much HVAC we need to install, maybe how much the AC we need to install by floor wise, where there is a requirement is more and where is the less requirement on it. By doing it, of course you save your money, your time, and the usability purpose as well, because the people who is using it, if they don't need that much of ton of AC below the third floor, they don't require it. But you have already installed, so of course you wasted the money at the time. And if you don't do that on the upper floor, then of course the people going to be suffer by it. So these kind of basic but important analysis you can do very easily, in the form of lighting, in the form of energy consumption, in the form of structure wise, plumbing wise. And when all the layers are on, then everybody can see together, analyze together, okay, this is how the building going to be look like before it will build on the site. The visualization term, which we have introduced before a few slides, when we need to see and we need to explain the same thing while we are designing. We are imagining, okay, this is uh, my waiting area, this is how the light came into it by the jali, and the sitting area be like this, the lighting be like that. But that is just in our imagination, so that imagination can reflect by this software in the 3D form to showcase your work to the client, that this is how your whole area, your design, your implementation, everything going to be look like. And it's impact that much to the client, so that he started adding a few things whatever his requirement as well. He appreciate your work as well, to go with it, to yeah, we can move ahead with it. So while we construct and then the client says something is not right, and of course we also in that condition of not executing as well, and so much of the money also invested into it. So it's a very good way to tell your ideas, your capabilities, and your thinking to the client before we started making into it. Not only the software is actually working throughout the project from the starting to the end, but it will also give you some kind of a intelligence in the future as well. And how the future, because everything has a life, the building which we are building right now also having a life maybe for a 25-year 50 years. And there is a one time when there is a renovation is required. There is a one time when we need to change the pipelines altogether, maybe the HVAC we need to change. So different kind of a material, or maybe the building make a maintenance on the building, so that life also we can judge on it. We can also analysis, okay, how this is all going to be work in the futuristic way. At the same time, when I talk to you about BIM and I use the word IT infrastructure, so nowadays of course the people are making becoming smart, the cities are becoming smart cities, so the why not the buildings. So now there is a term you may heard came, which is automation. So by making the automation and linking up that with the building is making of course the easy for the humans, as well as is conserving or is saving the energy consumption, your overall electricity consumption. And is how, because when you work with the automation, it's automatically working with your heartbeats. So when you go inside, you must have seen your all the lights and fans started working automatically, and when you go out, it's stopped as well. So there's no lack of, maybe there's sometime the electricity is not there, and sometime your whole house is on, maybe with the AC is on or some kind of lights are on. So this, and you can also make it very easily by handling it by the any kind of remotes, your mobile Alexa. There is a so many options and products right now in the industry, which we can work very easily with this automation things. So that intelligence of IT infrastructure also we can install and we can use in this project while we are working into it. In the same way, the kind of a documentation, of course we need project to be held in a very good manner on time. So they're going to be maybe the faces, they're going to be estimations, all kind of documentation also if you want. So you can do that in the software very easily. So it will change or minimize the change in order, because you have already seen whole building throughout before is start building it. So there is a very minimum risk of factor that you need to change something, or maybe you reduce any kind of a coordination issue between the client, between contractor, interior designer, everybody will be fulfilled because all the project is picture was clear in everybody's mind. The future operation, as we talked about, the building having a life, and the maintenance of course is required. So the future operational, maybe the building is hospital, or maybe the building is school building or a university, a building which is serving to the people as a social building networking, maybe as a public sector or semi public sector like schools, hotels, some kind of hospital, when there is so many of the service line, oxygen line, so many of the pipelines are working together. So it's a very beneficial for a designer or for a client to have that in the mind, and that when the maintenance is required for all the things, what are the predictive analysis we can do for it, what is the asset tracking, maybe the number of the fans, number of the products what we are using into it, that tracking as well as the facility management also we can do in this software by using as in future operational way. Whatever we have talked about till now, I'm going to be showing you that by showing you this little uh, video on the screen, by which you can also understand in a better way. So overall, the Revit software is a software which using by the designer and of course by the engineer by creating a digital 3D modeling that include the database, that include the associate with the physical and the functional characteristic of it. And when any data in changes in the every view is updated, as we have talked, all the viewports, elevation section all together is updated by this, by change appearing in the section, elevation, or in anything. It's also give you the realistic visualization. It also retain the model intelligence from the concept, starting from where you have started thinking about it towards the construction happen, and of course for the future as well. And it can deliver your project more efficiently, more design efficient, as well as saving of your time, money, with the powerful solution what you have in the software by using the BIM. That's it. Thank you for listening. If you guys having any question, query regarding whatever I have showed to you, any part of related to the course or maybe any related to the presentation, you can ask.
Hello. You can unmute and ask your doubts, please.
Hello,
Yes, please.
hello, ma'am. Can you explain me about cloud sharing, ma'am?
Okay, the cloud sharing is worked like if you have your Gmail ID and you have using that into the mobile and your laptop as well, and you are saving some of the your data in the cloud form, which is of course a kind of a drive which is not using your space but on the cloud form. So everybody, if you want to share that, everybody can use that, or whenever you wanted to use it as well, so you keep that on the cloud as an IT infrastructure. I hope it's clear.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, ma'am, how this Revit software is getting benefit for metro projects and all? Because BIM also doing things for metro projects. When BIM is collaborated with this, why not Revit? Could you please brief about this?
Revit can work on this metropolitan any project of maybe the metropolitan means to say maybe is the high rise project or maybe the multiplex or a bigger size of a project. So you can of course work in the Revit software.
No. I am talking about the metro rail projects, where
Rail
all the
projects. Okay.
metros, yeah, rail projects.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
talking about the residential high rise or tall structures. All I am
Okay.
talking
Okay.
about this because
Okay.
BIM software people are outsourced. Contractors are outsourced to BIM agencies. BIM agencies are preparing drawing for the metro. Then
Mhm.
the same way, Revit also possible to do work for metro, or you only can explain.
Okay. So first of all, when we are using with the Revit software, so Revit is actually making for the building what we are building into it, and which the railway line and roads you are talking about. For that, that is a kind of a infrastructure of the city layouting plan which we are using. And for that, not only the BIM, there is a many other software which is using in the town, but not the Revit, because all the software having their own properties and working style, everything is different. So when it comes to the railway line and everything, if you know the software name GIS, so that geographical information system, that actually started with the making of the layouting of lines and everything of your railway lines, roads and everything. And then for making it structure wise, people using the BIM software for that.
Okay, what about a curtain wall? Revit curtain wall software is separate, or inclusive of everything is in single mode? Single mode.
That I need to see about it, because we as in working on just in a building project, so in that scenario we don't use it. Being an urban planner, I'm also working on the some bigger city kind of a project, but for that we actually using GI software is there. There is a Earth Pro software is there, so we are using a different software because of the because we wanted to work directly on the satellite on the for the drawing making.
And then what about sketches? Google Sketches and this Revit Sketches. Which tool, especially, we are using for elevation design and all? That
Yeah, that
feature is
sketching part you
inclusive
can
of this.
easily do. No, that you can do easily in the Revit software, because we can do rendering into it. You can do the changes, any kind of plantation renders, day night sketching, everything you can do here in the Revit very easily. That is very easy in this software.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
మన
If there is
What's
any
it?
other question, you can ask.
In a sketch model sketching, ma'am, Google SketchUp is better or Revit better?
Okay, there is a SketchUp is having very different thing. SketchUp is, of course, everybody know it's a freely available software, and student learn that to understand overall the massing of the building. But that is to analysis, but not the SketchUp give you the overall idea by creating it very easily, because you having a pencil and rubber and so many very simple software, I would say the SketchUp is to understood. But when it comes to the professionalism, when it comes to the better rendering and everything, then the SketchUp is not really works until unless you again link with some kind of a software like Lumions and V-Rays into it, then it's not work. But in this Revit software, you don't need to link up with any kind of this Lumions or V-Ray or something like that. Just a setting of the SketchUp and you do all kind of sketching, 3Ds and everything very easily.
Please brief about Revit quantification.
Sorry?
Quantification of structures or particular building project or the project what we are making through Revit. Quantification, doing quantification through AutoCAD, doing quantification by other kind of software, or quantification by doing Revit. Which feature is the best and which is inclusive of all? You aware, no, that Revit, with the help of Revit software, you can do quantification.
Yeah, of course, I know the quantification we can do between anything, like between two reference of plan maybe, or it can be building maybe. You can do the quantification, but being an architect, I have not used that much of the quantification till now, because we have just designing and showcasing things. So we haven't used that type of element till here.
But that feature is available in the software, no? One of
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
features,
is.
no?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Because when you talked about some of the reference point which in AutoCAD, so you have one reference point as an XYZ axis as well, which is also kind of a reference point for a drawing, which we actually name as a 0 mm or maybe 0 feet, which is also kind of a reference only. So we use that reference while we are designing, so that we can also make thing happen on the side when we are making a centerline plan, or maybe when we are executing that, the evacuation when happening on the sign, the digging is happening. So we actually reference that on overall side with the feet and inches with the dimension of it. That is also kind of a reference example.
Okay, thank you.
If there is any other question related to the software or maybe the session which we're going to be starting with, then you may ask.
In what extent this software is user friendly compared to other civil engineering softwares?
Okay, so if you directly want to ask me about the civil engineer way, so I would say that I'm not a civil engineer. I'm an architect and urban planner. So I just don't know the civil software usually, but I know the software which, as an architect, we an urban planner we are using. So I can't compare the software with the civil engineer software. But of course, in the Revit, we do the structure analysis as well. Your designing interior and everything. So I found very useful when we are sending a file and drawings on the side. So we comfortable in working together on the one software instead of making it in a different, and then we send our file to some structure engineer, and then he send us with the state pro form, and then we make it on the 3D model as well. So for that constraint of a different software, we find this is a very user friendly for us. But I can't say directly compare about civil engineer software.
Okay, thank you. And upon completion of any project with the help of this
Mhm.
Revit software, exporting into another software and doing
Mhm.
any corrective measures or utilizing the
Mhm.
made project by the Revit, that and all is feasible through
Yeah,
feasible.
yeah, very easily, very easily. I can install the AutoCAD into the 3D, this Revit software, the 3ds also into the Revit. We have also changed it from Revit to AutoCAD as well. So yeah, that is very easy. You can do very easily.
In general, to
Mm-hmm.
learn these codes from the beginning to end,
Mm-hmm.
and continuing the same, then in which way it will help the individual. I am talking about those who are learning this software. Will help
Okay.
them in touch continuously, or continuous touch is required to keep everything aware of these functions of this project software, or it's okay. It can be remembered anytime. It can be used anytime whenever the individual wants.
Okay.
Just provide your
Mm-hmm.
practical and gained experience
Mm-hmm.
about this project to us.
Okay, okay. So when it comes down to learning of anybody, so if a person wanted to learn a software, and if I started with the this is the wall, this is the tools, and explaining them, and I would say that is a very wrong method to starting with any kind of a software. Because I start with the software when you are creating the small tools by you, and you are using the same tool by building the any kind of a project altogether. So if anybody is learning for the 15 days or the 13 days, so it may learn just 20% of the software. But when gradually the project wise project, when I'm making them understand what on site the things are happen, and this is how the things are shown into the project. And maybe in the first project they just know how to make walls and windows and doors, and in the second maybe they started creating the bigger size of modeling, maybe they started making their own walkthrough into it, the rendering part into it. So there is a different project segment why I'm taking it, because they're having a different kind of set of option and learning into the each. So when if they are just learning into 15-20 days, of course, then they're just making it touch like, okay, this is just an introduction only for the, it's a kind of a 20% of the knowledge of the software. And if they go long for of course for the long time of the 4 or 6 months, then they gradually, when the whole course will end it, I'm sure that they are able to make their own project by their own, whenever I throw them any of the file or you throw them any of the file. So the people or a student able to make their own model very easily without anybody's help. So this is our whole session is very important, and not just giving the introduction part, because it's like always say the lesser knowledge is always very not very good in the manner of creating anything. So the segment of the knowledge which I have divided, because the whole session I'm taking a four segment, starting from the basics to advanced to the professional, and then giving them as in one project altogether, so that they can also judge themselves that how much we have learned as an individual at last.
Well, understood. Thank you.
Can I easily get a job as a fresher through this course?
Sorry,
Can
can
I
I?
easily get
Mm-hmm.
a job
Mm-hmm.
through this course as a fresher?
Okay. The job guarantees actually depend upon because how much you pay attention and how much you have learned. And the software is the skill you need to practice. If you learn very nicely with a very good teacher also in the 6 months, but you don't do the practice or you don't started using it, after 6 months, you started forgetting it. So it's actually not only depend upon the how you teach, how you learn, but also depends upon the practice as well. And if you do that well, of course, you have the job whenever there is a requirement of this Revit software in your company.
What other software is available in the market similar to this? Could you identify us?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh, because I'm just in my field, if I talked about, so starting from AutoCAD, which of course used by the by the mechanical civil person as well. Then for the 3D, we goes for the 3ds Max. There is a Lumion, there's a Revit, there is a V-Ray, SketchUp, and of course some kind of a rendering and the better quality of finishing drawing. Sometimes we use Photoshop as well. Uh, as in sometime we raise as well for finishing with the landscaping and the good lighting, the sky and everything. So these whole software we as an architect using, and for the different stream there may be a different as well. But the whole together with the documentation and everything, just a Revit I found, which is more efficient in all kind of working style.
Okay, if you are doing one project,
Mm-hmm.
which from foundation to finishing and
Mm-hmm.
other allied architectural, including MEP,
Mm-hmm.
other things, water tank, etc., then arboriculture and etc., everything cannot be
Mm-hmm.
do with this Revit structure alone. Why other multiple software need to be
Yeah,
used
we
by
can do
an architect?
actually.
Uh,
No. We can actually do here in this Revit software. But the point is, the university, which I have also learned, and the people are learning right now, they actually focusing on AutoCAD. Maybe it's easy to understand, or then afterward, the people started or students started learning the 3ds Max because of the good quality of the render. But when I was learning, or maybe I'm now teaching to the student. Somewhere somehow they have the mentality that the Revit software is a very tough to understand and it's not easy going. So we need to maybe after the education they started making understand, or maybe the importance of the Revit they understood later on. That's why there is a need of learning is there, and because people don't know the software, that's why they need to do the donkey work, like creating all the plan in AutoCAD, and then of course moving down to the different software kind of thing. But if the student learn on ground whenever uh, is learning in the second third year of the software, so they started using them, so they found actually while using it very easy. But I don't know, the course structure, maybe the people actually concentrate on the AutoCAD and then 3ds and maybe the SketchUp, because of it's very easy to available and easy to download to use and easy to make understand people. So the focus is different. That's why people not actually using them in some of the metro cities as well, like Delhi and Mumbai. People is more or less using AutoCAD in when it comes to the percentage of people using into the software. So AutoCAD, more of the office are using as compared to the Revit. But now I think people are understanding, and that's why we are into the software learning program, so that make them understand the importance of the software.
Okay, thank you. But being an architect, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell us or guide us. See,
Mm-hmm.
for example, one customer is giving one project to you, one
Mm-hmm.
multi-story building, 3+6. So
Yeah.
entire thing your team has to do.
Yeah.
Drafting plan to and structural analysis and other approval of the drawings and other architectural drawings, plumbing drawings, everything, all drawings, and in
Yeah.
clubhouse and other miscellaneous works and other architectural and finishing works, peripheral works, everything. Can you able to do, or can your team able to do with the help of only two softwares, Revit and AutoCAD,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the help, with
Easily.
the help of the system, without
Yeah.
usage of or
Without
get
AutoCAD
assistance
also
of
you can do here in
other
Revit.
softwares?
Yeah, until unless you have some kind of a different kind of a structure of a draft of with your software or maybe drawing, you can start with the Revit also. Without AutoCAD also you can start in this Revit software. Until unless you get some kind of a file from the contractor or a client, then you need to import that into the software. But if you don't want, you can start your project by just a Revit only also, and you can finish off also with the same.
Okay, fine. But in some
Mm-hmm.
places, architect in office, one
Mm-hmm.
architect is doing with the Revit. After that, that file and project is been shifted to other who
AutoCAD
is
also.
having MEP software separate. And
Yeah.
another architect is just verifying the all things for
Mm-hmm.
horticulture and other things, miscellaneous works and peripheral outdoor facilities and all by the other software. So
Mm-hmm.
this makes confusing. With is Revit is
Is
for
mm-hmm.
complete structure, for complete analysis, also for complete
Mm-hmm.
architectural and collaboration, everything. Why not we can run with we can do project with only AutoCAD and this. Okay, AutoCAD is basic, it's definitely essential. Even one
Yeah.
file comes with the AutoCAD
Mm-hmm.
file, you need that one to open and see. So in
Mm-hmm.
such circumstances, these
Yeah.
two software alone enough to run the architect office?
Yeah, they are. And when you are saying that when you started with the Revit and then file goes to the different department or different office for maybe for the landscaping, for interior, or for any kind of a work, if they are separating it or maybe they are converting that into the AutoCAD or any other software, then maybe because they are not very familiar to the software, or maybe they are not familiar to how to use them, and they need to save the time. And for time, for that option they created on, they directly convert that into maybe the 3D, they import into 3D sometime, they import into the CAD and they started using it. But I'm saying you, the if people know the Revit very nicely and they are having a confidence, they can start directly from the Revit also by creating the land column, everything from the basic. They don't even require the AutoCAD drawing also. But of course, lacking of knowledge, I would say, because everybody is not, everybody know AutoCAD as compared to the Revit.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and for all your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session.